The
Hey everybody, Howard Jacobson here with
Mergoddess.
Sarah Bofinger. How's it going?
Great. How are you?
Good, good. So I promised to start a conversation that you have no idea what we're going to talk about. So
Good.
I'd love your thoughts on this. Um,
Okay.
so it's a quote that I read recently, and I'll give you the 5 word essence of the quote to start. It says, "Knowledge shrinks as wisdom grows," and it goes on to say, "Details are swallowed up in principles." And then my notes on that was the wiser we are, the less there is to know and remember. And the shortcut to wisdom is experience. So,
Yes.
so I was wondering, because when a lot of people get started on lifestyle change, it feels like a million things to memorize. It's almost like I remember trying to memorize the multiplication table in fourth grade, because I think when you did that, you got a treat. And there were, it
Mm-hmm.
was only up to the 10 by 10, so there was only 100 things to memorize. And like that seemed like an awful lot of things to memorize. And after a while, I realized that there wasn't that much because there were principles of multiplication. Like multiplying by 10 was just adding a
Mm-hmm.
zero to below. Like, oh, okay, I got that. Right? Multiplying by 2 was just, oh, it's all the even numbers. And I'm like, oh, 6 times 7 is the same as 7 times 6. So there's really only 50, not 100. And so the more I understood the principles, the less I had to sort of constantly be juggling in my head. And I'm wondering if you have had that experience in your own sort of lifestyle transformation. Because we met when you were like, 75 days vegan.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly. So I would say like it's interesting that this is coming up because I was having a conversation with someone yesterday about their own, changes that they want to make but they haven't made them yet, right? So
mhm.
they're in this position of like kind of going back and forth. But for myself, like I mean, yeah, like you said, like you start off with like this whole list of like things and now it's like become like super easy. Like I don't even think about it. It's like, oh, whole food plants, like okay, this is simple. I
Right.
need, like get a potato. Like it's like I know what my body prefers. Now, even if I eat food like the vegan junk, right? Like my body now knows from having all those processes, right? Now it like knows what it prefers. So it automatically is like the wisdom kicks in versus like needing to know exactly what everything is happening. Like the body is already like adapted it and it's like, okay, like this is what I like and this is what I prefer. Does
Right.
that
Yeah. Yeah.
okay?
Do you also find that in terms of like you mentioned that you'd kind of revamped your swimming stroke,
Yeah.
right?
So, I mean, even with that, because like there were so many things that I didn't notice, like with my hip dysplasia. Like I've just been like, oh, I've had 7 hip surgeries. Like didn't even like acknowledge that it probably was affecting my swimming in some way. And so, like the one thing that's really gotten clear to me is that my right leg like does its own, like it has its own thing that it does. Like, and so now, like, but I'm not necessarily like focusing. It's like now I'm aware of it. And so the wisdom kicks in. And so now I'm like, I know that it's happening. And when it doesn't happen, like, I see myself going faster.
Hmm. And it's the experience of it is what creates the wisdom, kind of like that's where I kind of want to go here, because when people are stuck in the myriad of details, they think that they have to handle that from their heads. Right, like, oh, there's all this information here. What's my strategy for handling a lot of information? Oh, I remember, I cram. Right? I'm just gonna kind of try to remember it all, and when I can't remember it, I'll offload it into an app, and I'll like point the app at labels, and the app will be my outsourced brain, but I still need all of that processing power to get by.
To Yeah.
Right?
And this reminds me of like myself as like a student in school. Like I would try to like cram, like I even like tried like sleeping on my book. Like maybe sleeping on the book would like give the information, like into me. But like for my own growth, like I've noticed like when I experience something and really like grasp it that way, like it allows me to further my growth from that.
Yeah, and so like it feels very counterintuitive to say, okay, you're overwhelmed with facts and details and information, so go do something in the face of overwhelm. But like that's the path forward, right? We don't grow wiser from reading and studying. Right.
No.
That can be, reading and studying is not, it's a significant thing, but it's not a recipe for growth. Right. For many years, I have used reading and gaining knowledge and learning more facts as a way to avoid growth. Right. Like, oh, I could show you my self-help section of my house, my home library. It's like, oh, oh, that's really impressive. You must be a fantastic person. I says, well, I'm a good reader. I didn't actually stop and do the exercises, right? But so a little bit of doing is it's almost like I don't know if you have a juicer, right? Imagine if you just had like the plunger part, and you're just like shoving all like the carrots and the celery and the greens in the juicer, but there was nothing to chew it up. Like it's the doing that chews it up and turns it into something that bioavailable to us in our lives.
Totally. And also like for me, like I've been learning to like really appreciate like where you are now because like for myself, like I've always tried to be where I'm not. Like I've tried to skip steps, of like, and I think we a lot like, and I'm sure the facts that we're like reading and all these things, like it like creates this like feeling of like, okay, like I'm not where I need to be and I should be like somewhere in a different reality than where I am now, but what I'm learning is like the more that I can just like really like be okay with where I am and look forward to where I'm going, like there's so many pieces that we missed by not like really enjoying every step.
Yeah, and for me, like a great way to feel inadequate is for me to walk into a library or bookstore and I look at all the things I haven't read yet and all the stuff I don't know. Right? As opposed to like when you're in the moment, like what you are is complete. Right? Even though, yeah, there's a whole bunch of things that are outside of you, they aren't necessary in this moment, and they're not necessary because you don't have them.
Exactly. And like if you want them, you can get them. You're just working on yourself to work up to that, because you're not ready for those books or those medals or, whatever the thing that you're looking for. Like if it's not there, it's because you're not ready for it. And that's okay. So then it's like, get okay with, I'm not ready right now, but I'm getting excited about being ready and I'm having a great time,
Right. Yeah. So, like for me, the moral is it's taking action and actually, struggling with the thing. Like you could sit and think about hip dysplasia all day long, but only when you get in the pool and pay attention to your right hip do you start noticing when it does the thing and when it chills out and allows you to swim faster.
Yeah, and it's fascinating because even like I've noticed now, like one leg is a little longer than the other, and like these were things that I didn't pay attention to before because I just wasn't ready to get that information, right? But now I'm like, okay, how can I like with this body that I have right now, what can I do in this moment that's going to propel me to where I want to go? And then all these ideas are flocking all every moment, like, okay, look at this, like, look at your, like, I'm watching myself do squats in the mirror and I'm like, oh, this is like kind of cool, like, why didn't I notice that before? Well, maybe because I was trying to push the fact that I had this thing versus like now I'm embracing it and getting excited about, ooh, like I have this body that like has this thing that like they built my hips for me, and like how cool is that? And then it's like, okay, like let's like see where this goes, you know? And I never had this perspective before because I was looking at it like you were saying, like the facts of like, oh, poor Sarah had these things, like da 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 da, instead of like just being in the moment, appreciating what it is, and using the experience, the wisdom of what I've already been able to achieve to now go with infinity and beyond, right? Like Buzz Lightyear.
Right, right. And I'm reading a book now at the exact proper time. It's called Mind in Motion. And
Ugh.
the argument is that our brains, our minds, our thinking is basically built around motion, around movement, around action, as opposed to the old theories, which is it's built around words and language. And so I'm getting really, really clear that learning only happens through action, through movement. Right, which is why this quote kind of distinguishes, and the quote is by this fellow Alfred North Whitehead. Should just give him credit because he lived a long time ago, and he's not doing much anymore. So throw that out in the universe. That, that this idea of it is through doing, through taking action, that we actually learn who we are and what's true.
Yeah, totally. That's really like that's my whole life in a short sentence.
Cool. Go, Alfred.
Yes, go Alfred. Maybe I was him in another time. Now I'm back to state it.
Yeah. I was like, I like this life. This is
Yeah,
cool.
exactly.
I was a stodgy old English guy. Now,
Now I'm
sky's
an
the limit.
Olympic swimmer. Yeah, the sky's the limit, exactly.
All right. Anything
Cool.
else?
That was really cool. Like I think yeah, I mean that's really what I've been doing is just really like I'm just in the moment and having all these breakthroughs, and I have a race this weekend, so I'm going to test some more of my loving my body, being in the moment and seeing what amazing things transpire.
All right. Well, have a fabulous time.
I will, and I will see you all next week.
All right. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.